Lovely, thank you, Natasha. So we've just done the agenda. So I'm just going to give a very brief overview of the Workforce for the Future programme, which is the funded programme which this workshop forms part of. It forms part of the support that's provided through that. So Workforce for the Future is a 3-year funded SME skills support programme. Could just move on to the next slide. There we go. And it's funded jointly by the European Social Fund and the West of England Combined Authority. The aim of the programme, as you can see here, is to help support SMEs in the West of England to build for the future and ensuring that they've got the right people with the right skills at the right time in order for their business to either maintain or progress if they choose to and grow. The programme, if you can move on to the next slide, Natasha, the programme provides a range of support, and you can see the various areas that are covered. The programme is delivered by a number of partners, Business West being one of those, and the support that Business West provides with our team of experienced skills advisors can help businesses to develop and implement a strategic workforce development plan. It helps them to better understand current and emerging skills needs that they're facing. It helps to identify relevant skills support programs and training options, and helps to access a suite of online tools and resources and workshops like the one that you're attending today. Some of you attending today may already be on this programme and receiving support currently. Some of you may not be aware of the programme, and if there is anything you'd like to know further about the programme or you'd like to receive some of this support, then please feel free to contact one of the team at the end of this session. If we could just move along to the next slide. There we go. So recent times have obviously been really challenging for businesses, regardless of size or sector, but workforce development planning can really support, and this programme helps to provide that. It can help to build capacity and capability. It can help to inspire and support, and we've got 2 businesses with us today who are going to share some of their experiences with you. And it can help to create a legacy. So we're going to be, as part of this programme, creating some peer-to-peer networks, and if that's something that might be of interest to you in order to learn from those businesses, then please contact us and highlight that with us. I'm just going to hand over to my colleague Claire Bedding, who's going to briefly touch on what we hope to achieve through this programme today.
Thank you, Lizzie. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. We welcome you along to this webinar. We've got some fantastic speakers lined up. What do we want to achieve? Well, we want to inspire you today with our brilliant speakers. We've got Marita, Tara and Becca on, who are going to take you through all of their wisdom and brilliant learnings. We want to empower you with practical hints and tips that you can take forward into your workplace or grow your own team. We want to remind you that Rome wasn't built in a day, and that communication actually is the first and the best tool in your toolbox for creating a learning culture, and perhaps that starts today for you. We want to also inform that learning initiatives and a learning culture can have a profound impact in the workplace and really increase employee sense of well-being, and to create a really inclusive environment, which we know is of increasing importance now with mental health and well-being being at the forefront. Learning culture can really, really help sort of impact on that for you. The other thing is that we have hard data. Hard data has existed for a while now on, these are not sort of nice to have things. Actually, hard data suggests that financial performance is directly impacted by having learning in the workplace. And actually, a 3-year study in America of 500 companies on the New York Stock Exchange actually showed that those in the top quarter of the study group actually had 24% higher profit margins. So it's sort of almost irrefutable evidence, really, that actually not only does it increase sort of staff morale, feelings of well-being, but there's real sort of hard performance sort of that comes out of these learning cultures. And if we overlap that with a recent survey by a company called Leftronic, where a whacking 74% of employees responded to that survey and said to their employer via the survey that they felt they had untapped potential and would like more training. If if you overlap those data sets together, you can see that actually developing a learning culture, it makes for incredibly sort of compelling rationale for developing that in your workplace. So yeah, we're going to move on now with our amazing speakers. Do drop a hi in the chat if we know each other and we've met before. Drop your questions there, as Natasha said, and we'll get to those in the Q&A session. I'm going to hand over now to our fantastic speakers and let their collective wisdom and experience really inspire you. Please, this webinar is obviously for you. Get out of it what you want, ask lots of questions and come back to us at the end if you need more support. So without further ado, I shall hand over to Marita.
Good morning. I see Natasha is flicking through the presentation, getting back to the beginning for me.
Sorry, Marita.
No worries. It's great. You are already instilling all the information we want to pass.
I'm so sorry.
No, don't be. Don't be. So welcome everyone. My name is Marita Price. I am a workplace culture consultant. What does that mean? We go and help companies create or shift their workplace culture. And workplace culture impacts from board right down to every aspect of the business, and we try and ensure that the ripple effect happens in the company. So today we're talking about creating a learning culture, and I love that, the untapped potential. And our job as leaders, and I expect each of you out there has connection with other people in your company, whether you're directly responsible for them, or you are have your own company, or you're a leader in a company, or you work as part of a project group, you are influencing others. So you have the opportunity to get out that untapped potential that Claire mentioned. Good, so what am I going to cover today? So we're going to talk about what is a learning, what the heck is a learning culture? It's all nice language, but what does it actually mean? We're going to a little bit talk about the value of learning culture, and I'm going to ask you to be involved today. So please, we're going to use a bit of the chat. We're going to put out some questions. We're going to go into breakout rooms. We're going to do a little exercise. So I'd really invite you to jump in and be open to learning today. That's what we're all about. We're going to share examples used by companies, and I'm also going to use really specific things that clients of mine have implemented, really nice little examples of, and they're free. They're things they have created and come up with from their employees. So we'll share some ideas, we'll throw them out there. My whole goal is that you hear something that you can grab, take and implement tomorrow, or that you have some ideas that might be useful to share, and we're going to ask you to share your ideas at the end. So these are only the ones that I've come across, and I'm going to give you the 7 steps to developing a learning culture, the 7 golden steps, and you can see where you are and which ones you have done and see what else would be useful. So let's jump on, Natasha, to what is a learning culture? A learning culture, there is actually no definition out there for a learning culture. So any academic or learning people out there, there is nothing specific out there. So it's really, what do we understand as a learning culture? And I think there's 3 aspects. There's the individual, there's the team, and the organization. And next, Natasha. And so the three different areas. The individual, what does it mean to an individual? It's about ensuring that they are open, that they can learn, that they can develop themselves to be their full potential. That's thinking about individuals. And that's our jobs as companies. I think that is our role as leaders in companies, to help people develop and reach their potential within the company. Teams, that they're open and that they're learning from the projects that they do, or the activities that they do. What did they do well? What they didn't do so well? And for organizations, that they are also open to learning. Next. So now this is where we ask you guys to get involved. I want you to open up the chat, and I want you to write in what you see the value of a learning culture. Why is it valuable to have a learning culture? You're obviously all a little bit enthralled, or you have one, or you're developing it, or you're interested in it. Why do you think it would be valuable? Make it up if you don't have an idea. Just write in the chat. Now, this is where we ask everyone who's on the email to come off quickly and write, builds knowledge within a team. Fantastic, totally. You're sharing that knowledge, you're sharing the learning. Brilliant. Anything else? Staff morale, brilliant one. Staff engagement. Companies with high engagement levels have 200% more profitable. Oh my God, you're brilliant. To grow your team's capability, sharing that knowledge across to other teams, building the knowledge, new knowledge, taking on new challenges. I love this one. So companies with a high learning culture or a high level of learning culture respond to challenges in a better way than companies that don't. Who doesn't want that in their teams when we all have those weeks when everything goes wrong, and the companies with the high learning challenge respond better than the companies that don't. Profit, yes. I mean, bottom line, that is what it has to have some payback. And it has proven that companies with a learning will give you some data for that but for sure, through growth, through innovation, through learning, less mistakes, reflect to be better. I mean, that's the goal, finding out what we did wrong and reflecting to be better. Influence and encourage continuous self-development. That's the individual. If we're getting better, everyone around us is impacted. And also we feel better. We feel more self-aware. We are improving ourselves. Reflect so you as an individual realize what you're good at. Amazing, brilliant. Yes, exactly. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? The more we know that, the better we can perform. Brilliant. Okay, next. So, or actually, yes, let's give you some facts around that. So I'm going to move the chat out of my way here because I had that up there. Let's close that. So LinkedIn did a study, 94% they said they'd stay longer in a company if there was learning opportunities. Oh my God, retention, you keep people. Consider a third of their salary minimum to replace them. And that is blue collar or white collar or anyone working in a company. We have shown and we have done calculations, it takes about 30% of their salary to replace them. Cost. 69% or was it 87% of millennium said that they want a learning culture in companies, and they will make up 75% of companies in 2025. That's not long away. Who are the millennials? The ones that were born between 81 and 96, the young ones in my eyes. And they will make up 75%. So if they don't have that culture, they don't want to stay. They need it. So we are thinking about the future. As Lizzie was saying, the workforce of the future. The non-millennials, 70 or 69 or 70% say they want to be able to have development. 50% of the workforce left because of poor management. Learning development is huge for keeping managers and improving the level of management in a company. And if people are leaving because of poor management, hey, let's try and make that better. Upskilling people can be actually better than upgrading equipment in certain cases. The National Centre of Education of the Workforce have proven this. The World Economic Forum say 1 billion people will need to be reskilled by 2030. So now that I've blasted all that, the last one is the profit one, that companies with a formalized training plan have increased profit of 218% per employee. Yeah, so that is the bottom line, that it is a worth investment. Next. So actually, I'm going to hold you. If you just go back one, Natasha, to so that we don't, or actually come off the screen for a second. I'm going to ask you all to turn off your cameras for a second. We're going to do a 2-minute exercise. All right, I'm going to have to ask you all to turn off your cameras so that we don't discriminate against anyone. All off your cameras. Lovely, I'm still in there. Claire, you're coming off. Can you turn off your camera? No, she's looking. Right, I want you all to stand up. Okay. Now, some of you, we have 3 camps right now. So we've done this experiment, done this test. We have 3 camps right now. We have the camp that are sitting down going, what's that Irish woman on about? What is she wanting me to stand up? I'm trying to write an email here while I'm listening to this webinar, right? You have those camps sitting down who are not being very open, not being very curious. Those 2 words, open and curious. We have the camp that are standing up, that are going, okay, I'll do it, but what the heck is it for? Why am I standing up? So you have the ones that are open, but not being so curious. And we have the 3rd camp, which is the one standing up going, whoa, what's this about? Why are we standing up? A little bit of a shake it up in the middle of the webinar. So they're the third camp. And for me, they're the ones that are open and curious. The most important thing we can have in a learning culture, the most important thing you can teach your kids for the future is to be open and curious. Open, what's happening today? What's happened? This feedback, my manager gave me this feedback. The project went wrong. Be curious. Why are we doing this? You should all be asking, why are we standing up? So why are we standing up? I have a theory that the blood flow to the brain is directly proportional to the blood flow to the behind. So that is why you're all standing up. So now you've got a little bit more blood flow to the brain, we can all work better. But whichever camp you're in, you can choose which camp you're in. You can move along that continuum to say, today I'm going to be open and curious. I'm going to say, whatever happens, I'm going to say, that's interesting. Why did that happen? Ask a few more questions, see what we can learn. Okay, so that's your individual development today. Everyone, come back in the room, turn on the cameras, because I hate blank screens. I have to talk to people. So come back in the room, join us, come back in. Brilliant, lovely. So just interesting, you'll all be going, which one was I camp? But you've all now moved to the left camp, which you're all, or that camp, I can't say whether it's left or right because you're on opposite screens. And I've turned off my own camera there. So please sit down again. There's no problem to be standing. I stand because the energy has to flow while I'm presenting. So it brings another dimension. So share again, perfect, Natasha. So now give me some examples. You're saying, give me some examples of learning and development. And a lot of these we've come across, we know. There's the traditional courses. So when we want to learn a new skill, or we want to do some personal development or team development, you go on a course. It's the traditional way. We have the apprenticeship model, where Lizzie and those guys are really expertise on this, and there is some fantastic apprenticeships out there, creating that environment of new energy and new ideas coming into the business and learning skills, mentoring, coaching, access to online courses, 360 feedback. So that's where you get feedback from people more senior to you, your colleagues, and also people who report to you. So you get the full dynamics of what people see as your strengths and what people see as your weaknesses. Like gold. Project assignment. So you go and do a project in a different area with a new skill. Oh my God, you learn so much. Temporary assignment. Go and do a job for a certain time while someone is out of the business for a couple of months or a couple of weeks. Temporary assignment. You learn so much about different parts of the business. What does that bring in? It brings in connection. Social networking communities, mixing with like-minded people or people with common interests. Communities create ideas and it builds on ideas. Stretch roles. I love this one. This is where you go into a role and make sure that that role is stretching people, just pushing them, not over the edge, but stretching them so we know that they are developing either a new skill or they're personally developing. Inspirational speakers and events, hearing what other people have done, always inspiring. And then self-development. What are you doing about your self-development? Becca will be reminding us that every day is a learning day. And I love that. And that is true. Every day we are learning. So reminder, which camp were we in when I asked that, made you all stand up? Are we being open and curious? Next. Right, so what about the companies I work with? There are some gorgeous examples out there of lovely little things that people have done that are completely free, that they have set up in their companies. And where do they come with these ideas? They got them from employees, people brought them from other companies. So we have a tech company, they do master bite-sized sessions. They're a small company, there's 30 people, they're not a load of spare funds to be spending on training courses. So they do master bite-size. So everyone needs to do a 20-minute. You get assigned 4 weeks in advance. And that 20-minute, you need to do a master bite-size session for everyone. From Excel to personal development, to plants, to whatever it is that they are expertise on, that they have expertise on. Insurance company, they do mentoring programs for females, cross mentoring. So they got a group of females together, and they have developed them to be mentors and mentees, and they mentor each other, and they do 6 months and then they swap around, and they have learned so much coming from different areas, different backgrounds, and really bringing in that diversity of ideas, thoughts, approaches. Construction, they do reverse mentoring. So there is a family-owned company. The leaders are there's a number of them over the age of 50, and they were very clever and realized, hey, in this world today, I want to hear what the younger generation. So they have some of their younger generation reverse mentoring the senior team. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Food company, this is one of the companies I actually used to work for. We created speed dating with management. So someone from the production line, so it was a manufacturing, it was 2 factories I used to run, and someone from the manufacturing line used to meet with one of the leadership team for 15 minutes in a week. Everyone can commit to 15 minutes. So the leadership team had to meet one from board, and there was 3 questions. What would you do tomorrow to make this company better? Why do you like working here? And what could I do for you in your job today to make it better? We got simple things like change the brushes. They're really bad. All the bristles come out. It was a nightmare for our people. We changed the brushes the following day. Fantastic. So, and every week the leadership then would report in the management meeting, what did they learn from their speed dating? Tech company, cross-company coaching. They take people from different areas of the business with different expertise, real data people, and they share that learning, and they coach each other on that. And I have a person who's a coach who's just there on their own in their business. How can they do learning in their company? She goes outside for that, and she goes, instead of a book group, she goes to a Friday podcast group. So they all listen to a podcast and come back and discuss it. Brilliant. So next. So 7 steps for creating a learning culture. What do you actually need to do if you want to go about having that really rich learning culture in your company? And as you see, it ranges from formal courses right through to the simplest of tools that you can use in that continuum of learning. And a little bit of everything works great. Measure. How are you doing right now? Do you have a learning culture? What works? What doesn't work? Measuring is really, really simple thing to do. As simple as going out with a monkey survey and getting some feedback on it. 5 questions, job done by Friday, and knowing what kind of learning culture do you have in the company. And then develop a toolkit. Pick out things that you liked today that resonated. That could be the start of your toolkit, and then you can expand it, adding new ones on as people come with ideas. The best people to come with the ideas, the crew you work with. It's great when the ideas come from within. Train the managers to use this toolkit. So whatever it is, if it's a simple feedback tool or it is right through to some formal courses, make sure the managers are trained to use it. The reason is more people are likely to do it if the manager asks them or the manager supports it. Continuous improvement learning at regular intervals. This is something every company can do at the end of every project, at the end of every week, the end of every meeting. What worked, what didn't work? Are we continuously being curious about what's working? Again, being open, being curious. The end, are we that learning? We used to reward the guys on the line for their production. They used to get penalized if there was a problem or a mistake. It wasn't, if there was a mistake, no problem. It's if it was repeated. But we used to reward them when a mistake happened and it was not repeated. So they were really motivated to go, oh, I made this mistake. Oh, it's really wrong. We need to fix that. We need to make this better. We need to fix it so it doesn't happen again. Use feedback every day. The greatest learning tool out there is feedback. And we all get a little bit nervous and itchy when we hear the word feedback, but feedback is about positive. Feedback can be about making things better. And the best people to create that feedback culture, which is a real part of a learning culture, is the leadership. They are the ones setting, walking the talk, which is number 7. Reward and recognize is rewarding for the right stuff, just like those guys on the line that we talked about, rewarding them for not making the mistake again, the repeatable mistake. do leadership walk the talk? Whatever you want to do, the leadership have to walk the talk. That is the golden key to making any culture work. Next. So I have blasted you with lots of ideas here on where, what we've come across and ideas from companies I work with. But I'd like you guys now we'll go into a breakout room. There'll be about 3 of you in each breakout room. And what I'd like you to do is what are you going to do today to help improve the learning culture in your organization? And if you already have one, maybe you want to share what you do in your organization, but what are you going to do next? What ideas have come out for you that resonated? Or share what ideas within the group. You're going to have 6 minutes in the breakout room. There's going to be 3 of you. So as you're all mathematical, 2 minutes approximately each, just so each person gets to share their ideas. This is all about taking great ideas and sharing them. So we are going to go, it's 10:29 now. And in 6 minutes, you're going to come back in at 10:35. You don't have to do anything. You'll be Star Trek beamed out and you'll be Star Trek beamed back in. So you just share, get all those golden ideas and grab them. Okay, Natasha.
Marita,
yes.
So I'm going to do 3 breakout rooms, and you'll get a countdown a minute before your breakout rooms close, so then you can start talking really quickly to get your last words in the last minute. Right, you're all going to be swooshed off now.
Fantastic. See you when you get back here. Hold on tight.
You just need to accept the breakout room that you're allocated. Woman speaking at this event was amazing. Yeah. She is a coach and she helps businesses create learning cultures. She's really good. She's very like I like people like that.
Apologies to my group. I hit the wrong button and lefty for dead inside there. So in mid-sentence. So my apologies, Julia, as I just asked you a question. But really, really, really great to hear what resonated. So what I'd like to ask you guys is from the people in the other group, what resonated, or have you ideas from your company that you would be willing to share? Come off mute, come into the room with us, come on. Don't make me target someone. Tara.
I'm waving because I wasn't sure if I should just jump in. We have, in the last couple of years, we started something new. We have a company day where we have feedback, what's going right, what's going wrong, what we want to do. We work on our strategy, so what we want to be doing, what our planning is, and that kind of is a reset for us every year now, and that is absolutely every person in the company. So it's something that we found gives us a lot of energy and momentum, and quite honestly that got us through last year. So it's because we knew we were all literally on the same page. So that's our bit of learning and collaboration. Brilliant.
Anything else? Fantastic. I love that. The company day resetting. Gorgeous. Anything else that someone's willing to share?
I was going to share something, Marita, that actually it's come from supporting a business through this program that I've realised that they do. And they have what they call fireside catch-ups with their staff. So it's not a formal meeting, it's just a regular catch-up to see how things are going, to give feedback. But they've also started to instigate a process whereby every month for half a day, people get time off to do their own personal development.
Oh,
and
wow.
It doesn't have to be related to what they do as a job. It could just be something else that they want to learn. But then they come back and they talk to each other about what they've done and what they've learned and how that goes. So it's that sharing as well, which I think is a really, really nice practice.
And you can see then how that impacts like retention, because the company cares about me, it wants me to develop, and then you're bringing that richness back in. That's like gold. Gorgeous, Lizzie. Anything else anyone wants to share that they've come across in the past or companies used to do or they've heard of? No? Okay, so for me, the one that was really, really effective in our company was the Helena, I saw you coming off of mute.
You go first, Marita. Go on.
Was that the speed dating we started with the manager and someone from the production line, and that actually was so resistant in the beginning. The management so resistant, going, why do I have to do this and spend time and I won't have the time. And eventually it was so successful that we increased and even did 2 speed dates in a week. But really we had to go through the pain in the beginning to convince people to do it, set it up structured, and then it actually grew because they saw the richness, the value on the production line. The feedback from the employees was like, oh my God, this is such a great, we have a cup of coffee with a leader, we get to share our thoughts. It was then became kind of a reward in the production line on who should be the one selected to go and have the next speed date. And so I think my feedback would be, even if something is painful in the beginning, hang in there until it gets momentum and then see it roll, see the gorgeous gold that comes out. Helena.
It's Halina, actually.
Halina, my apologies.
Thank you. I've got 3 things. I didn't mention them in because Barry and I no one else joined in our group, which was interesting. One is the power of the ask. If we don't ask for something, people don't read our minds. It's just get a grip, get over yourself. If you need something, ask for it. The other one is worrying is simply using our imagination to create what we don't want. So my tip there is stop it. And the other thing is, when we have tension, either in our mind, our body, or whatever, we have to remember that we're actually creating that tension. So if we don't want it, we need to stop it.
Yeah.
And I think it's all, for me, the past year, 18 months, is all about taking responsibility for oneself and not expecting someone else to sort it out. And I think that's what the pandemic has been teaching all of us, is get your own stuff sorted. Don't expect someone else to do it for you. So if things aren't working, come back and check out, what is it that I can do differently to get different results out there? So I feel really passionate about this, and partly because in our group, I was really disappointed and sad that 3 people, you know, I know people can listen, but it's, hey guys, come on, let's share and learn from each other.
Yeah, it's like where the gold is, really where the gold is. And then taking that another step further, Helena, the feedback is one for me that is like gold. We recoil a little bit from feedback, but what it can be like the greatest gift that we can get. So I would give all of you the challenge to say, instead of waiting for it, ask, like Helena was saying, asking for it, and being that open and curious. The more we request it, the more we get. And feedback is literally 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes outside by the coffee machine, you know, where you could say, you know, can you give me some feedback? What have I did well in there? What I didn't do so well in there? And the more that happens, and the more you see leaders doing it, that is where the gold comes from.
May I tweak that? Sorry, I'm very picky about this stuff. It's, what am I doing well, and what could I do even better?
Love it.
So that people get trained not to get into the negative. It's,
great.
what am I doing well here? How can I improve? What can I do better?
Fantastic.
So, can I ask a question, please, Marita? Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, all these initiatives we're just looking to introduce, because I work in a startup, an SME, and I really like the idea of the speed dating, and I've just got 2 questions on that. One, how did you sell it to the SMT? And then secondly, how did you select which employees would go in to those meetings? Thank you.
Oh, Melanie, great questions. So as you know, an SLT normally consists of a variety of approaches and personalities and focuses and priorities. We did a survey. That was the first thing, Melanie, an employee engagement survey, that communication was poor and listening was poor, and our improvement level, how we improved things, wasn't so poor. So I asked the leadership, would they commit to 15 minutes a week to work on this? So that was my first question. They were like, yeah, she's going to put something on the agenda in the meeting. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but they didn't know exactly what they're committing. So I said, 15 minutes. Is everyone committing to 15 minutes? So I said, right, on Monday, Jack, you are at 9:15 going to be sitting in the coffee room, and this is what's going to happen. And on Tuesday, and from there on, you can organize the 15 minutes yourself. But at the beginning, we'll set it up, because we know it won't happen unless we set it up. So what we learned was, Melanie, we set it up for the first 2 months. We ended up. So someone who had access to diaries and could, you know, talk to the production guys and had ability. So we set it up for the first 2 months. We asked them to commit to 15 minutes. They laughed when they heard what I was suggesting. I need to tell you the honest truth. We said, let's see how it goes. Let's just try it 3 times and see how it goes. What we saw was and we gave them the rule that they could not talk for more than 2 minutes of this 15 minutes.
Okay.
That was a rule. That was a rule, because we knew what would happen. The hierarchy, the senior leader would start talk. So that was the second thing. They could only talk for 2 minutes. So they were forced to listen. And then at each weekly meeting that we had with the senior leadership team, they had to feed back what was the learnings that they brought back, and we would make a decision. So for example, guys, the brushes are really bad. The bristles keep falling off. The guys can't do their job cleaning the floors down on the production line. We all went, and the managers didn't want to invest in the new brushes because they cost more money. So fair enough. Everyone was doing their job. So we made an agreement. We're going to go for the top quality brushes. So we gave some quick wins. That was the other thing, Melanie. Production line, to prove to them we were listening. And for the senior leadership, we gave them really positive feedback on the goals that they were bringing back.
Right, thank you. And then in terms of selection, how, you know, to ensure that nobody was feeling, how did you select your employees to go into the
Yeah, so at the beginning it was we just went for random ones that we felt would have the confidence to sit in front of a senior.
Right.
This is a big, like this is a factory of 400 people now.
Yeah.
We had. So we just maybe selected people we knew would have the confidence to sit and maybe talk honestly. So that was kind of our first selection, but we did that like in you know, with maybe the team leader, and said who would be a good person to select. But as time went on, we gave it down to the production line to find a way to select. So they came up with the person who had made the biggest difference in the week. They picked him out of a hat. They had loads of different ways of coming them up. But at the beginning, we did choose people that maybe had the confidence to talk.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. Thank you ever so much. Thank you.
Okay. Unless there's any other, is there any other questions? We will move on. I've added in, but this is for you to read after when they send out the presentation. GEFCO is a logistics company, and they have been rated some of the top workplace culture companies, great places to work. And I've written down their description of their learning culture, so you can have a read of that after and see is there any more ideas come out of that for you guys. So thumbs up if we got some ideas to take away and steal today. That is my objective. I need to see that. Yes, some thumbs. Yes, love it. Good. Live, you have to. Yeah, brilliant. Super. Great. Thank you, Julia. Back over to you, Natasha or Lizzie. I'm not sure who's.
I'll just shoot through these because we're going to send them out to you, and it's Tara up next.
Tara's on mute.
I do apologise. I heard the Tara's up next. Can we go to the next slide, please? Hello. As you've just heard, my name's Tara Northern. It's there on the screen as well. We are a little company, an SME, and we have 12 people in it. It's a chartered quantity surveying practice. Quantity surveyors estimate and control costs for large construction projects. We have 5 apprentices and 2 employees on work study contracts alongside their university courses. Scarcity is the mother of innovation, they say today. And according to the RICS, the Chartered Quantity Surveyors is a profession that has 7,200 roles to fill in the UK, and it features on the government's shortage occupation list. And the average age of RICS members is 60. And our business opportunity that came from focusing on this scarcity as an opportunity, not a challenge, and it's led our business to grow its own, or rather develop its own workforce. Have to say, I was very surprised when someone suggested we had a learning culture, but actually when you start thinking about it, having that many students in your business, it's bound to be catching a learning culture. Oh, sorry, the next slide, please. How did this happen? So the QS skills shortage that we had spread over to the graduates. So pre-2014, we only recruited graduates, as it is a profession that requires a degree to be a fully qualified quantity surveyor. So we used feedback from, we've always used feedback from our apprentices to help us develop and shape the programme. However, having apprentices requires time daily to coach and mentor, so it's not always a solution to immediately solve a capacity gap you might have in your business. Think of it as a 32-hour week or maybe less, and that's working on the job. So there is an understanding that the person is closer to perhaps a 50% productivity level when you take into consideration learning and studying on the job. We found having 2 or 3 apprentices worked better, as they supported each other and the investment of time in the programme had a much better return on the culture for collaboration. The impact of having apprentices in the business did take around 2 years as the apprentice programme itself improved and we adapted our in-house training. We have had 3 apprentices already achieve Associate RICS, the initial level of certification as a chartered surveyor, and now they are all working on degrees at level 6. We have an apprentice in their final year who is on course for a 2-1 or a first, and they're very excited and going to the pub tonight to celebrate a 90% result on one of their pieces of coursework. If you hire a person on a 5-year degree apprenticeship, the support required after year 2 is much, much less. So that daily learning support, mentoring support, it levels out. So you, if you're an SME or a large company, may want to consider somebody who has already achieved a level 3, as they might suit your business better if you don't have that initial capacity to support an apprentice. But now we have shared apprenticeships. It's a new idea where a third party supports you through an apprenticeship programme, and you have that apprentice in your business for a shorter amount of time. And it's a less of a commitment and more of a learning experience for you as a business to understand how you can get the best out of apprentices in your business before committing to a longer term apprenticeship. So Business West will have information on that. What was the benefit of developing this new talent? Oh, it's been so much. Recruitment. So we've been able to attract good people, not only apprentices, but also people at all different levels in the business who are enthused by our learning culture. Now that the programme is established over 6 years, we had applications this year from all over the UK for our apprenticeship programme. And this has given us a more diverse culture within our business to have people from different areas and a wider range of age and gender amongst our QS team, which was a target for the business. And the skills. QS apprentices are learning about new construction methods at university, and we as a business are able to bring recommendations to clients for new solutions. And then there's also the flexibility this brings to management. Obviously, as a small company, we've had ups and downs with the past year, but having apprentices means that the pay structure, being close to a minimum wage, does counterbalance the cost of initial training on the job, so it can help you balance out your workforce when things get tough. And the impact's also on existing staff capacity, so we learned really quickly to measure the amount of time we spent mentoring and to improve our management communication skills working with our new apprentices. There is an expectation to increase salaries over the 5 years, and it's important to plan this in along with a development plan within your business so that you can retain your apprentices once they are ready to leave university. Now, I've already mentioned the shared apprentices, I was about to mention it again, but I shan't. It is very important to be flexible and adapt, as we have found over the 6 years that these apprenticeship programmes are ever changing, whether that be the course itself, the paperwork you have to fill in. So it's very important to have a great partnership with colleges and universities to help you deliver that best practice for your apprentices. We may be small, but we are delivering a valuable impact in this region. As surveyors, we build in and for our communities, schools, homes, infrastructure, new workplaces and community spaces to support our region's sustainability and growth. We're working with WECA on their workforce for the future. They're helping us understand how our growth plans need to align with a skills strategy. And that's supporting the extension of our existing learning culture, going out to all of our team members as we're pivoting the business and growing post-COVID. And we're very much in that process at the moment. And we're feeling very supported and lucky as a business to have this opportunity to work with WECA. We've realised every person in the business can access training to help our business grow and pivot. And we're full of positivity and everyone's really grateful for these new learning opportunities. And that is direct feedback from our company day last week. So thanks very much. Are there any questions about how we've set up a learning culture in our business?
Thank you, Tara. That's really fantastic. I don't know how much it came across to other people there, but one of the key things we were so excited to have Tara come on and talk about is that we hear from a lot of businesses about having structured, formalised learning. And of course, learning can be many things, but in Tara's business, it's apprenticeships mainly. And for 50% of the workforce of a small business to be on structured, formalised learning, I mean, it does show you that it can be done and it can be incorporated. And it's not something that happened instantly, Tara, is it? It happened over a period of a few years. And as you say, it took 2 years perhaps to start seeing the impact of that. But yeah, one of the things we do hear a lot is that, you know, we don't have time or capacity or money to do formalised learning. And it shows that actually you can, even in a business of, is it 10 employees or 12, Tara?
We're now up to 12. We do have, so we're up to 12 this day, but we have got another apprentice joining us next month who I've counted in our 5, but because it's like 3 weeks, so I thought it counts because we're onboarding, but you know.
Lovely.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing was is that you've got half the workforce as apprentices, but also something that we've talked about as well together is the impact that they're having on the workforce that aren't on any formalised learning. And that's quite interesting. Could you elaborate just very slightly on that, of how that kind of transference of learning is happening?
Yeah, so the team are obviously very varied, and it's not only the apprentices. We do have one person who's recently joined from the army, and so a lot of skills that person's brought into the business, they've been able to use to support the apprentices, because they're obviously used to working in a team and collaboration and getting people to work together. And that particular person is also a full-time student. So the students who are full-time, the students who are part-time, are learning from each other study skills. So they're kind of ideas that can flow from different individuals. But also hearing about how everyone else is learning. We have one of our oldest members of our team who's you know, at the other end of the spectrum in terms of age, and that person was very excited to have the opportunity to do a course next month which is about online events, and this come about through Workforce for the Future, and that she caught the bug from everybody talking about that what they were learning, and she was very excited to get an opportunity to learn as well. So I think we sometimes forget that every single person can have an opportunity like this. I think in an SME, partly it's a barrier that you assume you always have to pay for learning, but actually it can come, as I explained earlier, with the person who's coming from a different work environment, so from the army, that person brings with them a variety of skills which then are organically growing within the business.
It's fantastic, and fantastic to hear that people who are even as close to retirement as the lady you mentioned, actually coming to you to sort of speak about learning and wanting to learn still at that point in their career, which is fantastic. So it does show that kind of snowball effect, doesn't it? And would you indulge us and just maybe tell us a little bit about perhaps the impact on you, because you're directors of the firm, and how has it sort of impacted you? And because obviously you're carrying the, you're shouldering the burden, you're pushing the company forward, particularly during these times of COVID. So the impact on you guys and what that's been, positive and otherwise.
So we found that focusing our time on the apprentices within the business was actually a great return on investment, because when we had less work to do and some people were on furlough, the apprentices stepped up and they took on more responsibility. And hearing very loudly what Helena was saying earlier about what you need to do is take responsibility for yourself, and their contribution to the business during COVID was very obvious, that they were able to do a lot more than we realised when other people were on furlough. So they were really excited to try new things, and that had a good impact on our business surviving kind of the worst times of the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, and did that surprise you about their capabilities and how, I suppose again, the fact that if you're undertaking learning, you have a growth mindset, and therefore, you know, those capabilities shone out, didn't they, during those times?
They really did, and they tried loads of new things they hadn't tried before. They took on any challenge as it came in. So we currently working on shorter term projects which take 2 to 3 weeks to deliver. So it's a very fast-paced project. The project comes in, they choose together who's going to work on what, they collaborate, and that wasn't happening before. So this is something that we've learned through the pandemic, that by changing the way that we assume that people who are learning haven't already got that kind of aptitude, when they've applied that learning mindset to everything they were doing on their daily job, it made a huge impact.
That's fantastic, amazing to hear. Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing all your wisdom with everybody today. I think we're about due now to move on to Becca, if Becca's ready and able. Thank you, Tara.
I'll unmute. Challenge one complete. Excellent, thank you. So yeah, I'm Becca Thurston. I'm the Early Careers Manager at Wessex Water, and I'm really going to talk about kind of how we've put that infrastructure in place to make sure that we've got a learning culture. So Natasha, if you could flick me onto the next slide. Oh, that's me. So I really want to talk about the fact that it's all interconnected. So for us, we've got people, we've got purpose, we've got productivity, we've got positivity. I kind of got a bit obsessed by peas. Yeah, it's a water thing. Yeah, we do like to be obsessed by peas. So for those of you that don't know, Wessex Water is a water company. It works across the southwest. We've got around 3,000 employees. Tara puts us to shame because we've only got about 10% of our workforce in external, non-regulated long-term learning. We are part of the government's 5% club, which recognises that. And one of the things that I would say to people, if you have if you take on board apprentices or people on degrees or graduates, then really do look into that. One of the things we need to do when we talk about a learning culture, I think, is shout about that. You know, we're very British a lot of the time, and we don't share what we do, which is really positive. But I think it's really important that we do that. So we have about 10% of our workforce in long-term learning, and in-house we probably deliver about 6,000 training activities each year, but they're very much around regulation and compliance. So it is all interconnected. Natasha, if you could click on, just to get me a pretty picture up, there we go. It is all interconnected, and it does sound harsh, but we're a business, so everything we do needs to impact on our business, and it needs to benefit the business, but that's not a bad thing. Yeah, it's about that combination for us, about developing the individual by meeting and also meeting the business need. I think, you know, the bottom line from a finance director's point of view is how much is it costing me? But actually, from an HR point of view, people like to feel like they're making a difference and a positive difference. So I think you can combine the two. You know, we spend a lot of our money as businesses investing in capital and investing in assets. And we always say it, people are our biggest asset. So we need to figure out how to invest in our people as well. How do we make it work at Wessex? There's an awful lot of planning. So we wanted, as a business, really for people to come with us on the journey. So next slide, please, Natasha. And what we knew was that you can't change a culture with an announcement. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to allow people to make that step change. You know, this is all about change management. We're going from something that was very regulated, very formal, very structured, very defined. And it's not to say that it still isn't those things, but it's how do we allow that step change? And I like to say that, you know, we need to lead at all levels. Yeah, and we need to support at all levels. So we're quite lucky at Wessex. We have an L&D steering group. And I will touch on the term L&D, so learning and development. And that is actually headed up by our executive directors. So we've got exec director level involvement in our learning direction. We have, for most of our directorates, we have internal strategies, especially around young talent and entry talent into the business, and how we're going to manage that. And we have learning champions at all levels. So we're really lucky that our business and our employees and my colleagues have kind of stepped up to the challenge. And you now have, I call it cross-pollination, where, you know, one person talks to another person, talks to another person, and word gets around that way. So that for us, I think, has been really key to our success, is having that direction from the top, but support from the bottom. So Natasha? So what we started with was, well, actually, let's define out what our learning culture looks like. And we've never called it a learning culture, and I've never talked about a learning culture. So Lizzie said, will you come and talk about it? Like, have we got a learning culture at Wessex? I'm assuming that we have, because Lizzie asked. So for us, we really looked at, well, what do we want to get out of our training? Yeah, and actually, for those of you that work with apprentices, you will know this phrase: know it, show it, live it. And that is our learning culture, and that helps us get to that bottom line improvement. Yeah, knowing stuff is fantastic, but unless you can apply it, it's probably, I hate to say it, a little bit pointless. So the example I always give is, academically, I could go to college, get an HNC in construction and the built environment. None of my construction managers would let me anywhere near the site, yeah, because I would be a liability. Because whilst I know it, I've never shown it, and I certainly don't live it. Yeah, so we like to do know it, which is the theory, show it, which is like we call it a safe environment to practice. So where you have a go at things, it might be role play. We've got a training centre with confined spaces, those kind of things. The other way that you can show it really well is through an apprenticeship. Yeah, and then we encourage people to live it, and that's about really being the best we can be individually, but also as a business. So for us, it's really simple. Everybody understands it. You've got to know it, you've got to show it, you've got to live it, and that is our learning ethos. Natasha? So we wanted to make that really clear. And I think one of the things that I've learned, especially in a larger business, and to be fair, when we talk about communication, I'm not sure it's any easier in a smaller business. But so to me, it's about making it really clear and making sure that that door is open to everybody. I'm slightly obsessed by inclusivity at the best of times. But for me, you know, it is defining what do we mean by talent, and then what do we mean by learning. So although we have an L&D steering group, we actually have a T&D department. So when I say department, there's like 7 of us. So it's not a very big department. So we have training and development. Yeah, because for us, it's about that training to do new things, whether that's conceptual training or whether that's practical training. Yeah, we want to make it really obvious. Yeah, and we want to promote our opportunities. So we've done that through loads of different ways. So we've got intranet pages, however you communicate with your team, you know, whether there's 10 of you or 12 as there is in Tara's, or whether there's 3,000, think about how you're going to communicate those messages. Yeah, identify talent at all levels. Yeah, don't just think of it as this elite thing that happens for people who are capable or what we deem to be capable. But we have some really talented 360 digger drivers. I don't really know what that is. Yeah, for us, they're talented and they will bring on the next talented 360 digger driver. Yeah, so it's about recognizing all of us. As much as we've got senior scientists that are now going on to the senior leader apprenticeship, you know, for us it's recognizing everybody at every level. And one of the ways we've started to do that is we offer one-to-one IAG sessions. From an FE background, you can usually tell. So information, advice and guidance. Yeah, so we sit down with people one-to-one and say, right, where are you and where do you want to be? And that's an open door. Most of them are done by me, but we can talk about, and I will talk about later, is the fact that actually the colleges can help you with that. We work alongside Western College and Bridgewater and Taunton are our key providers, although we do work with some others as well, but utilise them. So we offer those one-to-ones. Yeah. The other thing is about process. Make it really clear how you get onto a learning opportunity, whatever that learning opportunity is. You know, I think a lot of us use telepathy, which again, if you can get onto the training courses for it, it can work a treat, but they're few and far between. So really think about how you're going to promote those opportunities and make sure that everybody, regardless of where they are, understands that. Yeah? If you can't have a divined person, yet have a single point of contact that can signpost out. It's really important for us. And I think lastly, you know, shout about it, whether that's individuals that are really succeeding internally and externally. So I do like a little bit of LinkedIn as well, and I will promote what my teams are doing just as much as the next person. But we should be proud about investing in our talent. And the other thing is shout out about your investment as well, whether that's time or whether that's money. You know, we should be proud to be investing. I think, you know, the year before last, I was able to say to Wessex, we had committed to over £1 million worth of investment. Yeah, no, I'm a good sales lady. So that included the apprenticeship levy. I'd worked with the colleges to understand how much in terms of public funding we were putting into that. But we also put our training budget into that as well. So it's about looking at it holistically, and don't be embarrassed about financially investing in people. I think it's really something that we need to do. So it is about developing that culture. Most of us, you know, love learning. But why do we learn? So my passion for learning is so that I can know more, so that I can help more people, so that I can be better at what I do. And God, dare I say it? So I can, yeah, you know, ultimately that is a driver for most people. So we need to acknowledge that. But we do want people to do more. We do want them to feel more confident. And if we can add the earn more, but that doesn't come from gaining the qualification, that comes from gaining the competence in the job. And Sasha? So I think one of the things we've got to do is we've got to rethink the traditional, yeah. And I think COVID has taught us that actually, do you know what, we can do that, and that normal can be invigorated and recreated, and people will adapt. You know, I think we've always feared that people won't adapt and well, you know, they won't like those things. But I think it's from a learning or training development point of view, it's about understanding that every day is a school day. Congratulations to the participants here and the attendees here. You are learning something new. And I think it's about us recognising that, you know, not everything, you know, learning doesn't have to be a 5-year part-time course for a degree, you know. And if it is going to be that, acknowledge that it's going to be bloody hard work. As somebody that's worked under a degree, trust me, it's going to be hard work. I think it's about understanding that some of your staff will fear learning. It isn't a natural environment for everybody. Not everybody has had great experiences in the past. And they're quite adept at hiding their weaknesses, yeah? And they've developed coping strategies to hide some of those skills that they don't have. So acknowledge that for some, you know, you need to have a lot of empathy, and you're not going to get a quick turnaround into this learning culture. It's a bit of a slowly, make it safe, allow people to progress when they're ready to. We do lots of different things at Wessex. We do a lot of the bite-sized stuff that I know people have been talking about. We have something called a Learn at Lunch. So you take your lunch along, and it might be a half-hour thing. It could be about the environment. It could be about a new, it's usually related to work, yeah? But, you know, or I've done one for parents about understanding apprenticeships and post-16 opportunities, you know. So we do those. Our CEO is getting down with the kids. For somebody who's 74, he's doing very well, so he does his podcasts. He goes out and has lunches with certain sites, you know, he gets out there, and that allows those short, sharp insights. So what we've developed, I guess, at Wessex is like 3 approaches: an insight into something, an understanding of something, and competency in something. So an insight might be just an insight day. You go and spend a day with somebody else in a different team and see what they do in that team, because you just need an insight. Sometimes it's about understanding. So this comes back to what Marita was saying about spending time in a different job role. Yeah, to develop that understanding. You don't need to be competent because it's not your job, but it links to your job, and you need to understand what's going on here so you can be better performing here. And then there's the competency, which is the longer term stuff. And all of this, ultimately, people feel like they're being invested in, they are being invested in, and it's affecting our efficiency and our productivity. We are lucky at Wessex in that we are a large company, but I would reiterate what Tara was saying about working with your training providers. If you can't offer it as a small business, talk to your colleges, link into one. Most of them are brilliant now at just giving you a one point of contact. I go to that one point of contact for everything, and I tap in to all sorts. So IAG sessions, skill support for the workforce, apprenticeships, internships, industrial placements, traineeships, random stuff. I just go and say, look, I've got this training need. Is there anything that you can do to help me fund it? So I don't have to tap into my training budget, because I want to spend my training budget on that instead. So for us, it really is about acknowledging, not everything needs planning, not everything needs formal approval. Decide on what your boundaries are for approval and keep to them. Now, it might be that people can go off and book themselves on a course as long as it costs less than 50 quid. It might be somebody can go off and book themselves on some training as long as it's fewer than 20 hours. Yeah, but decide what those things are. So we have different measures at Wessex, because obviously we're a larger business, that some things people can just go off and do, and that's fine. But other things need approval. So it's about keeping that, those doors open and keeping it simple for people. And for us, if they put in a request and it doesn't match the business needs, we don't close that door. We'll refer them back out to a college and say, go and speak to the college. It's not relevant for your job and etc. So let's move forwards. But if you still want to do it, go and talk to the college and see how they can do it and see how they can help you. So for us, it's about remembering that a seminar can be just as influential as a 3-year course. Yeah, Natasha. Yeah, but actually for me, and I think for Wessex, part of our, and we have had a step change in the last kind of 4 years when it comes to development and training, is that it isn't just about developing us, and it isn't just an internal thing, but actually it's an external thing. So we do a lot of time engaged with the education sector. So we attend primary schools, secondary schools, universities. We do things such as, we do apprenticeships, we do quite a lot of apprenticeships, but we do a lot of careers engagement. We offer work experience. We have quite a few careers and enterprise company enterprise advisors within the business. So they work with one specific school to help them better engage with businesses. And what we've seen is that exactly what we're talking about, you get that cross-pollination. They're out in a learning environment, they're helping other people learn. And then all of a sudden they remember that they still can learn and they can still do things differently. And it just throws a different dimension on it. And we'll come back to this when we look at the return on investment. So careers and engagement, I think, is really important. The apprenticeships, Marita was talking about earlier, about those job roles that force stretch. Well, we make sure our apprenticeships force stretch. So we have entry apprentices at Wessex, brand newbies, brand new into the industry, never worked in it before, could be 16, oldest apprentice was 47, could be anywhere in between. But we also have career development apprentices, and I don't know that a lot of small businesses understand that they're available. We've termed it internally career development. It's taking an existing member of staff and putting them onto an apprenticeship, but it has to be about development. So it's not ticking boxes to say they can already do these things. It's about saying, we've got somebody here and we want them here. This apprenticeship is going to get them there. It's going to give them the opportunities. We have to give them the opportunities. And more importantly, funded mostly. Yeah, I'm never really sure how the small businesses work on the apprenticeship levy. Yeah, I know I have to pay a lot, so I like to spend a lot, but I think for the small businesses you just have a tiny contribution. Tara, maybe you could pick that up when I finish. Yeah.
Yeah. It's mainly free. 95% make covered, and with levy
so 95%. You know, the most expensive apprenticeship is 27,000. So if somebody could work out 5% and it's paid monthly, yeah, so it isn't that big commitment. I'm loving the fact Barry's just laughing at me going, Becca's trying to do maths.
135, isn't it, or 1,350? That's
Yeah.
on a £27,000 apprenticeship, you contribute 1,350, something like that.
Yeah, and usually you pay that 1,300 or whatever it is over 3 or 4 years, and you pay it monthly, I think. Is it the same? Do they get that?
Yeah, that's right.
Fantastic. I know more than I thought I did about SME levy. So for us, it's about all of those things, you know, utilising apprenticeships to stretch your workforce, for me, is something that's often overlooked. Yeah.
I've just done the maths, Becca. It would cost for a 3-year programme, it costs £37 a month upward on a 3-year programme. So yeah, but I think that's absolutely fantastic, incredibly inspiring. What you've, you know, the sort of the programmes you've been through on Wessex. It's really fantastic. So
yeah,
really,
and I
really
think we're starting to, Natasha, if you want to do the last slide, it is about that return on investment, Claire. You know, we have to assess what the impact is. Yeah. But, you know, these are just some of the impacts that we have. And this goes back to, well, what do you want to measure? And we really didn't look at that when we started on this kind of new culture. And I guess it's because it was organic rather than planned. Yeah. But what I would say is think about what you want to measure. What impact do you want this learning culture to have? So then you can do those benchmarks, and then you can like really effectively report back into the board, yeah, to say, look, this is what we've done. We know for us it's increased our productivity. We know that we've got future proofing in place now. We do a lot more internal partnership collaboration. Yeah, our apprentices, our entry apprentices are absolutely inspiring on that. They will just naturally talk with each other, yeah, on different programs, and we do a lot around developing an apprenticeship community so they can do that. So we probably have about 170 apprentices at any one time, but they sit across 38 different apprenticeship programs. So they sit in 38 different departments. But we induct them together, we interview them together, we assess them, we recruit them together. So you have a community that grows up. And I think what ultimately, from a Wessex point of view, we do have social purpose, is actually our community respect what we do, both our industry, but also our social community. You know, we get so many requests to go and help young people, and not just young people, but career changers, people who, you know, we've all felt the impact of COVID, to get out there and into our communities and really see where that difference is. I think the key change that we did at Wessex was we looked at, or we started off with, when I started at Wessex, we had a request for sponsorship, which was quite brutal, not from a business point of view, but from an individual point of view. It was kind of, I want to do this course and I want you to pay for it, thanks very much. And now what we have is an application for development, because that development can come in lots of different forms, and it's not always just sponsorship for a degree. So for us, it's about, we ask our employees to justify their personal drivers, but then we say, okay, well, how is that going to meet our business needs? How does it reflect our business mission, our aims and objectives? You know, so there is a bit about formalising the process, but it's about more recognising and making sure that it is recognised. But it's about keeping the learning options relaxed. It's about tapping into the levy. It's about tapping into the free distance learning that you can find on all the college websites. It's about talking to the colleges for their skill support for the workforce. But I think most of all, it's about not being afraid to invest.
Fantastic. Becca, I'm going to interrupt you there. Sorry, it's so tricky because you're on the flow and it's so inspiring, and I love everything, you know, you've got to, I just want to leave some room, just a little bit of room for some Q&A from people, because obviously whoever's on the call now, you've got an assembled cast of people of knowledge and wisdom and experience. So please do, I know it's always a bit of a dodgy area where people say type your questions in the chat or turn your mic off, but please do, because this is an opportunity to ask anyone on this call if something somebody said has inspired you or you'd like more information, a bit like Melanie. Please do shout out now, or we can read questions that have been pre-submitted. I'll just give anyone the opportunity now to take their to put their mic on if they'd like to. If we don't, perhaps we'll move through to the pre-submitted questions. Lizzie, do you have those, or Natasha?
Yeah, I was just going to ask both kind of Marita, Becca and Tara, really, what's the biggest barrier that you've come across in terms of implementing any of those changes that you've talked about?
I think from a Wessex point of view, it's the perception of the time involvement. Yeah, so in terms of from a, I guess, an SLT, yeah, and then right down to, you know, the individual manager, it's the time involvement, and it's trying to create that concept that investing via time is a valid investment.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree with Becca. The time and cost come up regularly. I heard one manager say, you know, about, for example, they have an apprentice. He has to give 20% of his week to the apprenticeship, and he was quite negative at the beginning, but he saw now, and his quote was, "For 20% of his time now, I get 50% back in his, you know, effectiveness, productivity, the improvements in the area he works." So that is a good balance, but time and cost. And for me, when I talk a learning culture, it's the barriers are leadership, not walking the talk, is a big one. You know, doing what you say, because that's where you build the trust to actually build it across the company, is seeing your manager or managers actually walking the talk. And then it's something structurally that it's not supported right, that there's someone not coordinating it well. When something is new, it needs to be babysat at the beginning to make sure it gets up and running. And I think sometimes the stumbling blocks happen because it's not coordinated, managed, and run well. They're the other barriers I've seen.
Fantastic. I see we've only got 4 minutes left on our call now. Tara, was there anything you wanted to add to that?
I think very similar to both Becca and I've forgotten the lady's name.
Rita, don't worry.
Rita.
Call me Irish woman.
So yeah, I think what we've realized is that actually our biggest barrier was probably traditional thoughts on management. So I think we've thrown some of that out of the window now and realized that actually we just have to accept that every single person is bringing their own contribution to the business. And some of the kind of, we're very lucky in this SME that you can remove hierarchy and create a flatter structure and realize that we're all learning together. And I think that's something that has really changed the culture in our business over the past year. So
it's fantastic.
Barriers of things not being well planned and not necessarily getting the feedback, that's definitely changed.
Brilliant, thank you, and thank you all so much, you know, for all the outpouring of learning today. We only have 2 minutes left on the call, so it probably is the right time to sum up and say if there are any remaining questions or even things that occur to you after the call. You hopefully, if we can flick on, I think there's the last slide, guys, with some contacts on. We're all on LinkedIn. We're all across sort of social media via Business West, Marita's company, Becca at Wessex Water, Tara at Northern Surveyors. So there's numerous ways to get in touch. There's the skills inbox there. You want to find out about apprenticeships, formalised learning, or you want us to connect you to training providers and other stakeholders across the region to help your business. Please do get in touch. And thank you so much for your attendance today. I really hope you found it interesting. And applause and thank you so much for your time, Tara, Marita and Becca. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.